Kylian Mbappe has just crushed Manchester City, scoring a hat-trick, an iconic one at that. But if you have a deeper look, you can see some unusual tactics led to this historic victory against Man City. For example, I'll be explaining why Kylian Mbappe was playing centre midfield at different times. We're going to talk about Dani Ceballos and why he was actually absolutely crucial in this victory, amongst, of course, Mbappe doing what he does brilliantly, but of course also the disgusting switches of position and the driving energy of Real Madrid that destroyed this Man City defence and led to this. An iconic moment where Gvardiol, it's been done by Messi, which is, there's no shame in that. And there's no shame in this either. But he was done by an outrageous bit of skill. We'll break down that second goal in detail. Get yourself comfy. There's levels to this game, and I've got to be honest, they were on another planet tonight, Real Madrid. Man, so let's get into the lineups, because there were some big headlines, wasn't there? Kushinov coming in, all the new boys, Gonzalez and Marmoush. Erling Haaland not available for the game, and it really, really hurt them. So they had to try something different. Now, the team that you can see here is what I thought a lot of people thought was going to be the state of play, but it wasn't. It was so different. Let me show you what happened. And what you saw very quickly was out of possession. There was just a real inability to stop Real Madrid, and that was one of two things. Was it one, down to the ability of this Real Madrid team, or was it down to a weak press? I think it was about 60-40. So Marmoush stepped up here, and actually Savio ended up being the second of those two forwards, and in particular in this area of the pitch, in that initial press in the first third, there were two sort of defensive shapes here. There was a mid-block, which you'll see in a second, but there was that initial press. And the initial press, you had Marmoush and you had Savio. You had Gundogan trying to stop those passes into Ceballos and Tchouaméni. And then Bernardo Silva, who you thought might be in a bit of a double pivot here, actually came over to this side. You had Gonzalez as that single six and Thogden playing on that right-hand side. And as I say, the idea was to stop that ball coming through the middle, but the distances between these two was poor, and the intensity that they showed when they were pressing was also really poor. So much so that they were able to beat the press just so easily. Add a high line to that as well, and you started to have the rumblings of trouble, because all that needed to happen was Asensio drop deep and you to see what Real Madrid had, and it was the first of many glaring things that Real Madrid had, over Man City, and it was ball carriers. When you look at this Real Madrid team, you have so many players who can run with the ball, who are technically great, who can displace the opposition. Every single one of these players, maybe even Chuck Tchouaméni had some moments in there as well, just generally likes to pass though, I understand that. But they've got legs and energy, and Ceballos, maybe not as much driving with the ball, but with sacrificial runs, we'll talk about that in just a second, he played a huge part. But it was so easy, and we saw it 3 minutes into the game. Asensio was given the ball, he drove forwards, and because it was such a timid Man City team, what happened was this. They dropped. I dropped into this mid-block straight away. Marmoush dropping, and it led to Real Madrid having as long as they wanted to do whatever they wanted. And this is Ancelotti's team. They don't mess about. And it's one where they don't have to play through the middle, but they had so much space to do whatever they wanted. And this was only 3 minutes into the game. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Because as you can see right here, straight away, 3 minutes into the game, it's a simple pass. And of course, leads to the first goal. The press, that's pretty weak that you're able to do that. Surely you've got to curve that run. Wrong arrow, forgive me. You've got to curve that run to stop that pass. Gundogan, I mean, they could have played through the middle, but they didn't. At least they got him to go that side. But what you see is Asensio drive. He drives with the ball. And just by driving simply, the fear factor was always there for Man City. They do that, and then all of a sudden, they have so much room to work in, because Man City start to retreat. They all start to retreat back. But add that high line into it, and then you've got some troubles. As you can see, there you go. So much space to drop in, get going. And Man City think they're okay, but it's placid. Throughout the game, it's placid. And do you know who knew it? Do you know who felt it in their bones? Nico Gonzalez. Check this out. Have a look at this. Poor bloke. You can see he knows straight away. He's going, guys, come on. We need a bit more here. This can't be that easy. And these overloads happen throughout the game as well. Just people dropping into it. We'll show you more examples of that in just a second. So Gonzalez does that. And actually, once the ball makes its way back to Asensio, he even calls the moment that it happens. And this is the great thing. And I think it's a victory for kind of Ancelotti ball. It's not, he hasn't even got his own ball. He just does what works for the players. And if you've got a lightning striker up top and they're playing a high line, just pop it over the top. And that is exactly what they do. They don't mess about. Mbappe even gives them a bit of a head start. And the results, well, they're pretty devastating. But the lack of pressure there is incredible. You know, the distances are just outrageous. And so that ball goes over the top. It's all pretty easy stuff. And Mbappe, I think we've got to take a moment here. And there's three words that I think I wrote down. Freedom, energy, technique. Throughout this game, they show incredible moments of that. And Mbappe does that as well. And here, what he does brilliantly, first of all, Ruben Dias, he will have nightmares tonight because you know he is an incredible player and obviously a wholehearted centre-back as well. But for him to get bodied like that so easily was a real shock, I think. And I think it shook the rest of the team. Obviously, play that ball over the top. The great thing that needs to be remembered as well, Mbappe with these two little looks. First of all, just to survey the situation. The second one, to have a nice old look at Ederson. And then he does what he does. It's an absolutely fantastic goal. But I thought it was interesting that Nico Gonzalez, who's got that personality, he could see it. He could feel it. He could sense it. And then from then on, Man City were kind of in quick stand, although they were trying to get themselves back together. But they weren't able to deal with the movement and, again, the freedom, the energy and the technique of this Real Madrid team. I really want to talk about Dani Ceballos because I thought he played a huge role and actually even leads to the second goal. The second goal is iconic, and again, Man City don't get anywhere near them. God, how many? Let me know in the comments down below. How many passes was it before Mbappe put Gvardiol on his bum? But if we think about that pressing structure again from Man City, what they did and what they wanted to do, and we've seen this throughout the years with Ancelotti, is they, especially with Vinny Jr. in the team, is they wanted to give the opportunity for Vinny Jr. to get one-on-one against Kushinov. So they needed some rotations to allow them to do that. And the man that was tasked with that and did it fantastically, I thought he was close to being man of the match, but you got the guy who getting a hat-trick, you can't really give it to him, was Dani Ceballos. There's a quote from Ancelotti: you have players that make a difference and you have players that run. Dani Ceballos ran. And what he did time and again was that it's a feel thing when it comes to this front three. And actually Jude Bellingham as well. And they're now getting in sync. And it's a joy to watch because they're able to go and just solve problems, figure things out, have that freedom, show their energy, show their technique and ability on the ball. And Vinny Jr. a lot of the time would be stepping into midfield, but also, stepping into central areas, but then stepping into midfield. But the person who kind of facilitated and created that space a lot of the time was Dani Ceballos, who would start here, come to get the ball, let's get the ball where it would be, and then he would just peel off to this side. And what it would do is it would leave some space for someone like Vinny Jr., and it would absolutely displace the whole Man City defence. They couldn't deal with it. Dani Ceballos did it time and again. And I'm going to show you exactly why it was so effective and how it actually led to that iconic second goal. Here is the first example of it. Dani Ceballos right here. There he is. And what he does is he has a look. You can see these two having a look at each other, can't you? Because they know they're going to swap positions here. And so what he does is he makes this move over to this side and takes players with them. Let's move it on. He's actually all the way over here now. So he's come over to that right-hand side. Vinicius Jr., we remember, was over there. He's now been able to step here. He actually then plays the ball back to Ferland Mendy, who's then able to play the ball to Jude Bellingham, who's drifted over to that left-hand side. And there you go. That pass from Mendy is created. He actually bypasses Ceballos there. Ceballos doesn't even touch the ball. The ball goes to Bellingham. And then from there, Bellingham can drive at Kushinov. They were constantly trying to get the ball over to that left-hand side. And Ceballos, with that energy, was able to help with that. Another great example of it is right here, where he does the exact same thing. He starts in the middle, and then he drives over to this side. And what it does is it vacates and creates this whole space here. And it's about what Ancelotti loves to do, which he goes, okay, what are you good at, Valverde? Well, you're kind of playing right back for us, but you can drive with the ball. You've got more energy than anyone in this team. Let's use that. Let's use your ability to carry the ball. So what does he do? He does exactly that for the team, creating that space, driving to that area. And what happens? Valverde does that. It's the simplest of passes. So much space for Tchouaméni. Tchouaméni's able to pop it off. He doesn't even need to turn. And then all of a sudden, the ball's back over to this side. And now it's Vinny Jr.'s turn to have a go at Kushinov. And the goal comes from the exact same movements. And to be honest, it's the culmination of all the problems here. You've got Gundogan saying, guys, get closer, that pass can't happen. I've got two players here, I'm on my arse, and everyone's too far away from me. But the pass is able to be played. And again, look, Gundogan's saying, you two have got to get closer to stop that pass being able to come through the centre. There's got to be more energy from you guys. But of course, waiting in the wings, Dani Ceballos, ready to do the move, make the move that he's been doing for the last 30 odd minutes at this point, does exactly that. He drifts off, and what does he do? Creates this lovely space right here for the team to progress. And actually on this occasion, it's one where Vinny Jr. does drop in, but the pass goes to Tchouaméni instead. But because we've seen these movements a few times, you're still kind of taking some players out of the game, sucking players in and creating new areas of space. This time on the switch. They've been doing it the other way the whole time. This time, working onto the other side. Tchouaméni switches the ball. And at this point, Man City have not laid a finger on them because of the great movement of Real Madrid, but because they just didn't have the energy. But from here, again, freedom, energy, technique, it's all there. Bellingham is already on his way. He's come from here to here at this point. And what's really incredible is this. Vinicius Jr., who just come to help out previously in this area here. Can you see where he is now? He's here. And can you see where he's heading? Over here. The switching of play, it's such a nuisance. And yes, Man City are all at sea, but this is wonderful from Real Madrid, using all these great players that they've got. You've got a lovely little triangle here. You've got a 3-on-2 here, as opposed to the two, obviously, of Man City. And you've got Rodrigo, who's just been able to get the ball on the right-hand side. Is he going to stay down this side? No chance. He's going to go into this central area. So very quickly, you have Bellingham. And this is amazing, isn't it? Because Bellingham would normally be here. Vinicius Jr. would normally be here. Rodrigo would normally be here if you played positional football. But they don't. They go, they feel it out. Bellingham comes into this half space, gets on the ball here. Rodrigo at no point has stopped. Vinicius Jr. is kind of on his bike already. Again, because they're so all over the place now, Nathan Ake, if they're all set up, he probably gets a little bit tighter. He doesn't, because he can't, because he's got no help around him. And therefore, it looks even worse, because Bellingham's able to turn with the ball. And when he looks up, he's got one of the best players on the planet ready to make a run. And if he wanted to drive himself, he probably could have done that. And he could have even played a pass into Mbappe at this point. It's outrageous movement from Real Madrid. That drive happens. And then, again, what have we got here? We've got our right winger in that central area. We've got a centre forward on the left-hand side. And we've got our left winger on the right-hand side. All are so complete. They are so incredible. And at this stage, you've now got a 3-on-2 with all this space, all these lads running back. Freedom, energy, technique. Shall we show you some outrageous technique? And this is why it's great to have these freeze frames. Before Kushinov, He's battling away, but he's knackered at this point, and he's got an overload now, 2-on-1 by this point. They are all at sea. It's outrageous. But actually, Rodrigo's going away from goal here. This shouldn't be that easy to play that pass. That is filth. It's incredible. You've just got to adore it. How can you not? Through the legs of Kushinov. Poor bloke. But then from there, is that enough? Gvardiol's on his way. Try a last-ditch tackle. Probably would shoot. 9 out of 10 players would shoot. But he's feeling himself. And, the way he celebrated, he's now left him absolutely finished. The technique, the feet, the athleticism, the intuition, it's all there to enjoy. From a defensive standpoint, Man City, the big problem here was that the sort of two outlets throughout the game were Kushinov and Gvardiol, and they couldn't really get the ball to them. And what they did that was quite clever when it came to Real Madrid, and actually they kind of played into their hands a little bit, was that Thogden was in these places. Sometimes Savio was out here, but it was so congested. And in particular, there was this sort of 5 that they would go back into at all times, Real Madrid, but then with that central player in the middle as well. And because constantly they were trying to, they were trying to play those passes through the centre, and you didn't have that big Erling Haaland focal point to allow the other 2 players in the half spaces to actually get some joy. It was just impossible for Man City throughout the game to hurt the opposition, to have one runner kind of holding this line like Haaland can do, and then have Marmoush running in behind. With Savio and Marmoush when they were there, it just really wasn't working. And again, when we're talking about what Real Madrid had and how they were able to allow everyone to do what they're great at, Man City, it was the total opposite. Just to show you that defensive shape from Real Madrid, you can see it right here, and it didn't matter who it was, but it was always this 5 with kind of 1 in the middle, because we always knew that they were trying to play through the middle, and therefore the pass always had to make its way over to that other side. You can see the exact same here, but just with different personnel on this occasion. Mbappe on that left-hand side, Vinny Jr. in the middle this time, Bellingham on the right-hand side, complete opposite, but it was just about understanding that central area, clogging it up, meaning that those passes had to go over. And this is a moment where you can see literally Phil Foden is standing with the ball because he has no options, no outlets, because Savio is just completely in line. There's no way. There's barely a way. There's no way. The passing options just weren't there for Man City throughout the game. And the Haaland loss was huge, but the game plan, it just went completely out the window for Man City from an attacking point of view. No tempo, no pace, no individualism, I think was a big part in this. And no players who could carry the ball to allow them to sort of create these little openings during the game. They were utterly toothless. Third goal, freedom, energy, technique. And this is a disgrace, by the way. The fact that Courtois can just roll the ball out. Fernandinho would never allow this. There needs to be some dark arts at play. To allow him to just roll the ball out like this was, forgive me, a travesty. But again, Rodrigo able to drive with the ball, no one able to get near him. To have that pace, those carriers of the ball, the other pace players to kind of get past him, no one's able to lay a glove on him. And Man City are all at sea. By this point, and this is 60 minutes into the game, they're kind of on their knees physically, as well as the zip of Real Madrid and how they're able to play the ball. He plays it off simply. And again, that's something that I felt was a little bit shocking, if I'm honest, was the next 2 passes, because they've now got themselves in a decent shape. But this is the big problem. He's tried to track back, but he needs to get back in place a lot quicker. Nathan Ake, he's a little bit nervous as well. But for it to be as simple as that, it's almost like they aren't moving. To be able to get round it that easy, that's exactly what is able to happen. Pass, to get round and to give arguably the best player in the world that amount of time. And so Phil Foden was getting hammered in the commentary, but Gvardiol was in the wrong position. Ruben Diaz knows this is a problem and he's screaming, someone get over there. So Phil Foden tries to do the job for the team, tries to get over there, But, he's not, he needs help. And we talk technique. Mbappe, supposedly not his stronger foot. But if you have got the energy, you might be able to get across and you might be ready for him to go down the line, or is he going to cut in and shoot? Either way, you can't get that amount of time. But it's so much easier said than done. These guys are the best in the world. So Foden gets done. It's incredible. He's like nowhere to be seen, really. But he just charged over from one side and then had to go and try and tackle one of the best players in the world. But with Mbappe, I think the big thing to say here, we did a video earlier in the season, and it was talking about the positions he was getting himself into. And he misses Valverde, who was fantastic in this game as well. He put in a couple of fantastic crosses, and just before this, Mbappe looked like he was injured. But it was one of those fox-in-the-box moments that he's got to bury that. But that's not the striker that Mbappe is. This overall game is the Mbappe. It's that pacing behind. It's that cute lob. It's that sitting someone down. It's that scoring on the left-hand side, scoring through the middle, and here scoring from that right-hand side as well. Absolutely gorgeous stuff from him. And that's what I mean. It's two things can be true. Man City, utterly poor. But Real Madrid, utterly outrageous in what they were doing. And as I say, that I know I've said this word so many times, but the athleticism of that group, Valverde, just bombing up and down, every single player there, they couldn't live with them. But also you've got to have the tenacity, and I've got to talk about Jude Bellingham. Many people won't be bothered about this at all, but if you love football, then you probably will. This is on 70 minutes. 3-0 up. It's 6-2, right? Jude Bellingham has decided he wants to pop it about here. And let's be honest, I'll show you his heat map in a sec. It's a joke. It's a joke. So here, you could just chill, right? Just pop it about for a bit. You've got some of the best players in the world in front of you. Just take your time, relax. 70-23. He pops it off, and look at him, pointing, demanding the ball over here. He must have seen something, but this is a 30-yard sprint he's now got to make that he does not need to make. And to what end? Just to move the ball up the pitch again. And to be honest, there's a moment here where he actually just points again, go, give me the ball. It's not like he's through on goal. He's happy to make those runs. At this stage of the game, he is a ruthless winner. And he affects the game with every touch that he has. He was absolutely everywhere in this game. And with all these superstars, to have Jude Bellingham on the pitch and to do what he does, you've got all these guys who are this is where they're getting now. They're now enjoying making these runs, and that makes them a frightening opposition. Let's finish with this, the average positions, which kind of paint the picture, I think. Let's start off with Man City. Exactly what I was talking about there in terms of those fullbacks being the outlet throughout, and then just no penetration in the centre of the pitch. Massive, massive problem throughout. And then for Real Madrid, you would imagine that number 5 probably just stood still, didn't he? Everywhere. What a player. What a game. What quality. Outrageous.